You know that feeling when you're standing in a room full of people you've known your entire life, and suddenly you realize they don't actually know you at all. That's where I was on New Year's Eve, 2023, standing in my parents' living room, watching the countdown clock tick toward midnight, holding a glass of cheap champagne that I didn't even want to drink. And my older brother Marcus, the golden child, the family success story, the one who could do no wrong, looked me dead in the eye and said the words that would change everything. You know what, Emma? I'm tired of pretending. You're 29 years old and you're still a failure. Mom and Dad are too nice to say it, but someone needs to. The room went silent. Not the good kind of silent. The awkward, suffocating kind where everyone suddenly finds their shoes absolutely fascinating. My mom gasped. My dad cleared his throat. My aunt pretended to check her phone, but the worst part was watching Marcus's fiancée. This beautiful, poised woman named Claire, who I'd only met twice before, slowly set down her drink and turned to face him. And she said, in the calmest voice I've ever heard, "Actually, Marcus, she's my boss." If this story resonated with you, please subscribe. These stories matter. Your story matters. And sometimes we all need to hear that we're not crazy for wanting to be loved the way we deserve. Please comment where you are watching from. Let's dive in. Let me back up, because none of this makes sense without understanding how we got here. 6 months before that New Year's Eve disaster, I was sitting in my tiny studio apartment staring at my laptop screen at 2 a.m., convinced I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I just quit my stable corporate job, the kind of job my parents bragged about. Emma works for Johnson & Meyer, my mom would tell her friends. Like the name itself was supposed to mean something. It was a good job. Safe. Predictable. And I absolutely hated every single day of it. I was a mid-level operations manager, which is corporate speak for person who gets blamed when things go wrong, but never credited when things go right. I'd watch executives make decisions that made no sense, implement systems that frustrated everyone, and collect bonuses while the rest of us worked overtime for free pizza on Fridays. And I kept thinking, I could do this better. Not in an arrogant way, in a, I've been taking notes for 5 years and I actually know what these clients need kind of way. So I did something crazy. I started freelancing on the side, operations consulting, helping small businesses optimize their workflows, streamline their processes, all that stuff that sounds boring but actually makes or breaks a company. Started with one client, a friend of a friend who owned a boutique marketing agency and was drowning in disorganization. I charged $50 an hour, which felt like robbery because I was just doing what made sense. Color-coding spreadsheets, setting up automated systems, creating communication protocols. Within 3 months, their project completion rate went from 62% on-time delivery to 94%. Word spread. Suddenly, I had 5 clients, then 10. Then I was working my corporate job during the day and consulting until 3 a.m. My apartment became an office. My social life became non-existent. My brother Marcus, who was riding high as a sales director for a tech company, making good money, driving a leased BMW, kept telling me I was doing too much. "You look tired, Em," he'd say at family dinners. "Maybe just focus on your real job?" My real job. Like the thing I was passionate about, the thing I was actually good at, wasn't real. The decision to quit came on a Thursday. I was in a meeting with my corporate boss. Let's call him Derek, because his parents apparently wanted him to grow up to be either a lifeguard or a middle manager who says things like, "Let's circle back on." That. Derek was presenting my work. My workflow optimization project. The one I'd spent 4 months developing, testing, refining. He was presenting it to senior leadership as his own idea. Every slide, every metric, every recommendation, mine, with his name on it. And when the VP of operations said, "Derek, this is exactly what we needed. Brilliant work," Derek smiled and said, "Just trying to add value." I sat there in the back of that conference room and something inside me just broke. Not in a dramatic way, more like a light switch flipping off. I realized I could spend the next 20 years climbing this ladder, doing brilliant work and having mediocre men take credit for it. Or I could bet on myself. That night, I updated my resume. The next morning, I gave my 2 weeks' notice. Derek looked genuinely confused. "But you're doing so well here." I almost laughed. 2 weeks later, I was officially self-employed, consulting full-time, operating under my own LLC, Momentum Operations. Terrible name, I know. I was stress-eating ice cream at midnight when I filed the paperwork. But here's the thing nobody tells you about taking a risk. Everyone in your life suddenly becomes an expert on why you shouldn't. My parents were concerned. That's the nice word. My mom kept sending me job postings. "Just in case, sweetie." My dad would ask, "So when do you think you'll get back to a regular job?" Like consulting wasn't a regular job. But Marcus was the worst. Every family gathering became an opportunity for him to remind everyone that I'd given up stability.
"I mean, I get wanting freedom or whatever,"
he'd say, usually right when I was mid-bite of whatever casserole someone brought.
"But Emma, you had benefits, a 401k, PTO.
He'd say it with this condescending concern, like he was the wise older brother and I was the reckless child. "I'm doing fine," I'd say.
"For now,"
he'd respond.
"But what happens when the freelance work
dries up?" You know how unpredictable that is. The thing is, Marcus wasn't trying to be cruel. I don't think. He genuinely believed he was looking out for me, because in his mind, success looked like his life. Corporate ladder, company car, matching 401k, annual bonuses. He couldn't comprehend that I was actually thriving. Within 4 months of going full-time with my consulting business, I was making more than I'd made at my corporate job. Within 6 months, I doubled it. I hired my first employee, a virtual assistant to handle scheduling and client communications. Then a second employee, a junior consultant to handle smaller projects. By month 8, I had a team of 4 and a waiting list of clients. But I didn't tell my family any of this. Why? Because every time I mentioned work, Marcus would make a joke about Emma's little side hustle, or ask when I was going to get serious about career planning. And honestly, I was tired of defending myself. So I just stopped talking about work at family events. I'd nod along, let them assume whatever they wanted. My mom still thought I was between jobs. My dad thought I was figuring things out. And Marcus thought I was failing quietly. I first met Claire at a coffee shop in October. Not Marcus's Claire. Not yet, anyway. Just Claire. A potential client who'd been referred to me by another client. She walked in wearing a navy blazer, carrying a leather portfolio, and had this energy about her that I recognized immediately. Competent professional trying to do everything herself and slowly drowning. "Emma?" she said, extending her hand. "Claire Peterson, thanks for meeting me." We sat down and she pulled out her laptop. "Okay, so here's my situation. I work for a tech company, Vertex Systems, and I'm managing a team of 8 in the customer success division. We're growing fast, like too fast. We brought on 40 new enterprise clients in the last quarter, and our onboarding process is chaotic." I nodded, taking notes. "Clients are falling through the cracks. My team is working nights and weekends. Our ticket resolution time has tripled. And my boss keeps saying, just work smarter, not harder, which is not helpful advice when the systems we're using were designed for a team of 3, not 20. "What systems are you using?" I asked. She listed them. A hodgepodge of disconnected tools, none of them talking to each other. Lots of manual data entry. Classic scale-up problem. "Here's what I think you need," I said, and I walked her through a complete operational overhaul. Integration solutions, automation protocols, team restructuring, communication frameworks. Her eyes lit up. "Can you do this?" "I can have a proposal to you by Monday." She hired me on the spot. Over the next 2 months, we worked closely together. Weekly check-ins, system implementations, process training. Claire was brilliant. Sharp, detail-oriented, asked the right questions. The kind of client who actually implemented what you recommended instead of nodding along and then doing nothing. We became work friends. Not let's grab drinks friends, but the kind where you send each other funny memes about project management fails and celebrate wins over Slack. She'd tell me about her life, her ambitious career goals, how she was dating this guy who was great but sometimes doesn't quite get the demands of my job. I'd tell her about my clients, my growing team, my goals to eventually develop a software solution based on all these custom systems I kept building. Normal work friendship stuff. Then one day in early December, she sent me a message. "Hey, random question. What's your last name?" "Richardson," I typed back. "Why?" There was a long pause. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, "Is your brother Marcus Richardson?" My stomach dropped. "Yeah," I typed slowly. "How did you—" "I'm engaged to him." We met for coffee the next day. Not a work meeting, we need to talk about this meeting. Claire looked as uncomfortable as I felt. "So," she said, "this is weird." "Extremely weird," I agreed. "Marcus talks about you," she said carefully. "About his family, his little sister, Emma." "What does he say?" I asked, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Claire stirred her coffee. "He says you're going through a tough transition, that you quit your job and are trying to find yourself." I laughed, couldn't help it. "What?" Claire asked. "Nothing, it's just, that's very Marcus." "Emma," Claire set down her cup. "I've been working with you for 2 months. You run a successful consulting firm. You have a team. You've completely transformed our operations. You're one of the most competent professionals I've ever worked with." "Thanks," I said. "Why doesn't your family know any of this?" Good question. Because every time I try to talk about my work, Marcus makes it seem like a phase, or a hobby, or something I'm doing until I get back to normal. So I just stopped telling them things. Claire nodded slowly. "He loves you, you know. He talks about you all the time. How smart you are, how he worries about you." "I know," I said, and I did. Marcus wasn't malicious. He was just limited in his definition of success. "But he also talks about you like you're still 22 and figuring things out," Claire continued. "He has no idea you're running a 6-figure business." 6 figures is a bit of a stretch. "Emma, you're billing my company $15,000 a month, and I know we're not your only client." Fair point. We sat there in silence for a moment. "This is so weird," Claire said again. "Are you going to tell him?" I asked. She thought about it. "Do you want me to?" "I don't know. Maybe it's better coming from you. Or maybe we just pretend you work for a different Emma Richardson who also does operations consulting." Claire smiled. "There are probably dozens of us." "Absolutely. Very common name-profession combination." We decided to leave it for the moment, keep our working relationship professional. Let me figure out how to tell my family on my own terms. Seemed like a good plan. Until it very much wasn't. Christmas was weird. Not bad weird, just layered weird. Claire came to our family Christmas Eve dinner as Marcus's fiancée, official girlfriend meeting the extended family stuff. My mom loved her immediately. "She's so poised," Mom whispered to me in the kitchen. "And she has such a good job." I almost choked on my wine. Claire and I exchanged glances across the table, trying not to laugh, trying to act like we'd just met. "So Claire," my aunt asked, "what do you do?" "I'm a director of customer success at a tech company," Claire said smoothly. We do enterprise software solutions. Impressive, my aunt said. And Marcus, you're in tech too, right? Sales director, Marcus said proudly. Different company, but same industry. That's how we connected. Industry event. He put his arm around Claire and she smiled, but I caught her eye and she had this look of slight discomfort. Not about Marcus, about me. About this weird secret we were keeping. Later in the kitchen, while we were supposedly helping with dessert, Claire cornered me. "This is insane," she whispered. "Your mom just spent 20 minutes telling me about how Emma's between opportunities and trying to find her path." "I know." "Emma, you have to tell them." "I will, just not on Christmas, okay? I don't want to make it a thing." "When you bill me for December at the end of the week, the invoice is going to say $18,000. You restructured our entire enterprise onboarding system. You're getting a lot of value for that price." "Emma." "Claire." We stared at each other. "Fine," I said. "I'll tell them. Soon, before New Year's." Spoiler alert, I did not tell them before New Year's. The week between Christmas and New Year's was insane. One of my biggest clients, a financial services firm, had an emergency situation. Their Q4 reporting systems crashed, and they needed a complete workflow rebuild before their January 2nd audit. I basically moved into my office. Well, my apartment that doubled as my office. Worked 18-hour days. My team was stretched thin. We pulled it off, but I was exhausted. Meanwhile, Marcus kept texting me. "You coming to Mom and Dad's for New Year's?" "Yeah, I'll be there." "You should dress nice. Claire's parents might stop by." "Okay." "Seriously, Em, no weird artsy clothes or whatever. Try to make a good impression." I stared at that text for a long time. My brother thought I needed advice on how to dress to impress his fiancée's parents. His fiancée, who paid me $18,000 last month. The irony was almost beautiful. I showed up to my parents' house on New Year's Eve at 7 p.m., wearing a simple black dress and carrying a bottle of decent wine. The house was full of people, extended family, some of my parents' friends, a few neighbors. Marcus was holding court in the living room, telling a story about some big sale he'd closed. Claire was standing next to him, smiling, but she looked tired. She saw me, and her face lit up, then immediately went neutral when she remembered we were supposed to be basically strangers. "Emma!" my mom called out. "Come say hi to everyone!" The next few hours were a masterclass in awkwardness. I'd be talking to my cousin about her kids, and Marcus would walk by and say something like,
"Emma's doing a freelance thing. Very brave."
I'd be getting food, and my dad would introduce me to someone.
"This is Emma. She's still figuring out a career path."
Each time, I'd see Claire across the room, watching, wincing. Around 11 p.m., Claire's parents showed up, Richard and Susan Peterson. Lovely people, polite, well-dressed. Marcus immediately went into performance mode.
"Richard."
"Susan, so glad you could make it. Let me introduce you to my family." He walked them around, introduced them to my parents, to various relatives. Then we got to me. "And this is my little sister, Emma." "Lovely to meet you," Susan said warmly. "Emma's still exploring different career options," Marcus added, like it was helpful context. Claire, standing next to him, went rigid. "Is that so?" Richard said politely.
"Yeah,"
Marcus continued, apparently on a roll. "She had a good job at a consulting firm, but she decided to try the entrepreneurial route. Very gutsy, but we're all hoping she finds something stable soon." I felt my face getting hot, not from embarrassment, from anger. 8 months. 8 months of building a business, of working my ass off, of succeeding by every possible metric, and my brother was introducing me to people as his charity case sister. "Actually," I started, but Claire interrupted. "Marcus, can I talk to you in the kitchen for a second?" "Sure, babe. Be right back, everyone." They disappeared into the kitchen. I stood there with Claire's parents, searching for something to say. Susan smiled at me. "Entrepreneurship is wonderful," she said kindly. "What kind of business are you building?" "Operations consulting," I said. I help companies optimize their workflows and scale efficiently. How interesting. Richard, didn't Claire mention her company brought in a consultant for that? Oh no. Yes, Richard said. What was the firm name? Momentum something? Momentum Operations, I said quietly. Susan's eyes went wide. That's you? That's me. Claire talks about you constantly, Susan said, her voice rising with excitement. You completely transformed their onboarding process. She says you're the reason they didn't lose half their team to burnout. Richard nodded enthusiastically. We had dinner with Claire last month, and she spent 45 minutes telling us about this brilliant consultant who understood their systems better than anyone internal. I didn't know what to say. In the kitchen, I could hear raised voices. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard enough. Claire's voice. Your sister, Marcus. Your sister who you constantly undermine. Marcus, I'm not undermining anyone. I'm being realistic. Claire, realistic? She's one of the most successful people I know. Marcus, that's a bit of an exaggeration. Claire, pay her $18,000 a month. How much is your salary? Silence. Then Marcus, what? Your sister Emma Richardson of Momentum Operations. She's my consultant, has been for 3 months, and she's brilliant. Longer silence. Susan and Richard looked at me, at the kitchen, back at me. Should we? Richard started. Maybe give them a minute, I said. But we didn't get a minute, because Marcus came storming out of the kitchen, Claire following behind him. His face was red, confused, angry. He looked at me. Is this true? Is what true? I asked, even though I knew exactly what he meant. Claire says you're her boss, that you run some consulting company, that you're charging. He looked at Claire, then back at me, charging her company thousands of dollars. The room had gone quiet, everyone watching. I'm not her boss, I said calmly. I'm her consultant. There's a difference. How long? Marcus demanded. 3 months. 3 months, and you didn't think to mention this? At Christmas? At any family dinner? I tried, I said, multiple times, but every time I talk about my work, you make it sound like a hobby. Because you quit your job, Emma. You threw away stability for some what? I interrupted. Some fantasy? Some phase? Marcus, I make more than you do. His mouth opened, closed. I have 5 employees, 12 active clients. I've tripled my income since leaving Johnson & Meyer. I own my own business. Then why didn't you say something? He asked, but his voice was quieter now. Because I shouldn't have to defend my success to you. The TV in the background was showing the New Year's countdown. 10 minutes to midnight. Everyone in the room was staring at us. Marcus looked like his brain was rebooting, trying to reconcile the image he had of his struggling little sister with this new information. So, when you said you were doing consulting, he started. I meant I run a consulting firm, yes. And when I said you should find something stable, I already had something stable. More stable than a corporate job, actually, since I diversify my income across multiple clients. And he paused. When I told Claire's parents she was still figuring things out, I'm the person keeping Claire's division from collapsing, I said. Not meanly, just factually. Claire stepped forward. Marcus, I love you, but you've been incredibly condescending to your sister, and you didn't even realize it. I wasn't being condescending, Marcus protested. I was being supportive. You were being patronizing, Claire corrected. There's a difference. My mom finally spoke up. Emma, honey, why didn't you tell us? I looked at her, at my dad, at the whole room full of people. Because I was tired, I said honestly. Tired of being treated like I needed to justify my choices. Tired of being asked when I was going to get back to normal. This is my normal. This is my success, and I shouldn't have to prove it to anyone. My dad stepped forward. Emma, we had no idea. I know. If we'd known, you would have treated me differently. And that's exactly the problem. The TV countdown reached 5 minutes. Marcus stood there, and I watched something shift in his face. "I'm an asshole," he said quietly. "You're not an asshole," I said. "You're just—" "No, I am. Emma, He ran his hand through his hair. "I've been projecting this whole time." "What?" "My job, my successful, prestigious job." He laughed bitterly. "I hate it. I hate every day of it. I'm good at it. I make good money, but I hate it." Claire touched his arm gently. "And when you quit Johnson & Meyer to do your own thing, I was jealous and scared. Jealous that you had the guts to leave. Scared that you'd fail and prove that the risk wasn't worth it. Because if you failed, it would mean I was right to play it safe." He looked at me. "But you didn't fail. You succeeded. Massively. And instead of being happy for you, I kept diminishing it. Because it was easier than admitting I was wrong." I didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "I'm really, genuinely sorry." The TV countdown hit 2 minutes. "I don't need an apology," I said. "I just need you to see me. Really see me. Not the little sister you think I am. The person I actually am." Marcus nodded. "I see you now, and I'm really proud of you, Emma." Something in my chest loosened. "Group hug!" my mom yelled, because of course she did. Suddenly I was enveloped by my family, my parents, Marcus, even Claire joined in. "Can't breathe," I wheezed. Sorry, my mom released me. "I'm just so proud. My daughter, the entrepreneur." "Mom." "My daughter, the business owner." "Mom, please." "My daughter who makes more than Marcus." "Mom!" Marcus laughed, a real laugh. "It's fine, it's true, and it's awesome." On the TV, the countdown started. Everyone in the room joined in. 10, 9, 8. Claire leaned over to me and whispered, "By the way, I need to hire you for Q1. We're expanding the team again." 7, 6. "You already have me on retainer," I whispered back. 5, 4. "I want to increase the scope and the budget." 3, 2. "We'll talk next week," I said. 1. Happy New Year! After the champagne toasts and the hugs and the well wishes, things settled into a calmer energy. My aunt cornered me by the food table. "So," she said, "you've been successful this whole time and just didn't tell anyone?" "Pretty much." "That's very Gen Z of you." "I'm a millennial, Aunt Carol." "Same thing." I laughed. It wasn't about being secretive. It was about not wanting to have to explain myself constantly. "I get it," she said. "Your generation learned that you don't owe anyone a performance of your success." "Exactly." She clinked her glass against mine. "Well, for what it's worth, I think it's badass." Across the room, I saw Marcus and Claire talking quietly. He had his arm around her, and she was leaning into him. They looked good together. Claire caught my eye and smiled. Then she mouthed, "Monday, 10 a.m., calendar invite." I gave her a thumbs up. My dad appeared at my elbow. "Emma, can we talk?" We stepped out onto the back porch. It was cold but clear, stars everywhere. "I owe you an apology, too," he said. "Dad." "No, let me say this. Your mother and I, we worried. When you quit your job, not because we didn't believe in you, but because we remembered how hard it was for us, how much we struggled, how many risks didn't pay off." "I know, Dad." "But that was our experience, not yours. You're not us. You're smarter than us, more capable, more prepared. And instead of celebrating that, we projected our fears onto you. You were trying to protect me." "We were trying to protect ourselves," he corrected. From the anxiety of watching our daughter take risks, but that was selfish. You don't need protection, you need support. I hugged him. I could use both, actually. He laughed. Deal. I woke up on January 1st with a champagne headache and 17 missed calls. All from the same client, the financial services firm, Emergency. I called back immediately. Emma, thank God, the CEO said. The systems you built, the workflow integration, it just saved our audit. The auditors were impressed. They want to know if you consult for other financial firms. Yes, I do. I'm recommending you to 4 other CEOs. Expect calls this week. Also, we want to expand our contract. Can you add 2 more team members to your company? I sat there in bed, still in yesterday's clothes, processing. Yes, I said. I can do that. After the call, I lay back on my bed and stared at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Hey, lunch today? Just us? Want to talk about everything. Yeah, I typed back. That would be good. Another text, this one from Claire. Sent you the Q1 proposal. It's bigger than I mentioned last night. Hope that's okay. I opened the attachment, $75,000 for a 6-month engagement. More than okay, I typed back. We met at a diner near our parents' house, our diner, the place we'd gone to after school when we were kids. Marcus was already there, sitting in our old booth. Hey, he said as I slid in across from him. Hey. We ordered coffee, sandwiches, the usual. Then we just sat there for a moment. I really am sorry, Marcus said finally. For everything. Not just last night, but months of diminishing you. I know. Do you? Because I was thinking about it all night, and I realized I've been doing this for years. Since you were in college, always treating you like the little sister who needed guidance. You're 3 years older than me, Marcus. That's not exactly a generation gap. I know, but somewhere along the way, I made your success about me, about whether I was right or wrong, about whether my choices were validated. I stirred my coffee. You want to know something weird? I did the same thing. I made my success about proving you wrong, about showing everyone that I didn't need approval. Did it work? Not really. Turns out, success that's motivated by spite doesn't feel as good as you'd think. Marcus smiled. What does feel good? Building something I'm proud of, helping clients, growing a team. That feels good. The sandwiches arrived. We ate in comfortable silence for a bit. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Why did you really keep it secret from us? And don't say it's because I was being condescending. There's more to it. I thought about it. Because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, without the pressure of everyone watching, without having to explain every setback or justify every risk. I needed space to fail privately if I was going to succeed publicly. That makes sense. And also, a little bit because you were being condescending. Fair. I want to quit my job, Marcus said suddenly. I looked up. What? My job. I want to quit. I've been thinking about it for months. Years, maybe. And do what? I don't know. That's the scary part. You had a plan, clients lined up, a path forward. I just have this vague sense that I'm wasting my life in a job that doesn't fulfill me. What would fulfill you? He laughed. Is this you coaching me now? Maybe. What would you do if money wasn't a factor? Marcus stared out the window. I used to love woodworking. In high school, remember? I built that bookshelf for Mom. That bookshelf was beautiful. I haven't built anything in 10 years because it doesn't make money, because it's not a real career, because I was too busy climbing the corporate ladder to remember why I wanted to climb it in the first place. I reached across the table and took his hand. So build something. Start small. Keep your job if you need to, but make space for the thing that actually matters to you. When did you get so wise?
I've always been this wise. You just weren't listening. He squeezed my hand. Can I tell you something else? Sure. Claire almost broke up with me last month. She said I was becoming someone she didn't recognize, too focused on image, on status, on proving I was successful. She said I'd stop being curious about anything. But she didn't break up with you. No, because I promised to work on it, to remember who I
Actually am. And then last night happened, and I realized she was right. I've been performing success instead of living it. That's really insightful, Marcus. I've been in therapy. Oh, thank God, finally. We both laughed. I have a crazy idea, Marcus said as we were finishing lunch. I'm listening. What if I worked for you? I nearly spit out my coffee. What? Not like reporting to you, but maybe in some capacity. Sales, client relationships, business development. I'm actually good at that stuff. And you're growing. You said you need to hire 2 more people. Marcus, I don't. Hear me out. I know your industry. I work with a lot of companies that could use your services. I have connections, networks. I could help you scale. You want to work for your little sister. I want to work with my little sister. There's a difference. I sat back in the booth, processing. That's actually not a terrible idea. I know. But we'd need clear boundaries, clear roles. And you'd have to be okay with me being the CEO. Emma, you built this. You're the boss. I'm fully on board with that. And you'd take a pay cut, at least initially. I know. Claire and I talked about it. We're both ready to prioritize fulfillment over salary for a while. This is insane. Is that a yes? I looked at my brother, really looked at him. For the first time in years, I saw the person behind the performance. The kid who used to build things. The big brother who used to support me before he got lost in his own insecurities. It's a maybe, I said. Let me think about it. That's fair. And you need to finish at least 6 months of therapy first. Deal. And you have to promise not to undermine me in client meetings. I promise. And, Emma, I get it. I'll be professional. I'll be supportive. I'll be the employee you deserve. I smiled. Then yeah, let's try it. It's April now. Marcus gave his notice at his tech company in February. Started with Momentum Operations in March. And you know what? He's really good at business development. In his first month, he brought in 3 new clients, set up partnerships with 2 complementary firms, restructured our sales pipeline. We have weekly one-on-ones, and they're actually productive. He listens, takes notes, implements feedback. Sometimes it's weird. He's my brother. He's also my employee. But mostly, it's good. Claire got promoted. She's now VP of Operations at her company, and she's already talking about eventually bringing operations in-house, which would mean losing her as a client. But you know what? I'm proud of her. That's what success looks like, growing your people until they don't need you anymore. My parents finally understand what I do. My mom brags about me at her book club. My dad tells his golf buddies that his daughter is an entrepreneur. It's both validating and slightly annoying. Last week, I hired employee number 8, a data analyst. We're building out the software solution I dreamed about. My team calls it Emma's Momentum Movement, which is cheesy but also kind of perfect. And sometimes, when I'm working late at my actual office now, we got real office space with a conference room and everything. I think about that New Year's Eve. About standing in my parents' living room, being called a failure. About Claire's quiet intervention. About everything that's changed since then. Here's what I learned. Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's not about vindication or validation or making people see you differently. Those things are nice, they feel good, but they're not the point. The point is building something that matters to you. The point is taking risks that align with your values. The point is choosing fulfillment over performance. Marcus and I had lunch yesterday, and he showed me pictures of the workshop he's building in his garage. For his woodworking.
Claire got me tools for our anniversary, he said. And I've been spending evenings out there, just making things. What are you making? A dining table for our future house, for our future family. He showed me the design. It was beautiful. You're really talented, I said. Thanks. I forgot that for a while. Forgot that you can be successful at something and still have room for the things that bring you joy. That's very profound, Marcus. I'm in therapy, remember? We laughed. Seriously, though, he said, thank you for hiring me, for giving me a chance, for not holding my past behavior against me. You're my brother, and you're genuinely good at your job. It's working out. Claire said you gave her a bonus last month. She earned it. Her team's performance metrics are off the charts. She also said you're going to lose her as a client soon. I know, and that's okay. That's the goal, right? Make yourself obsolete? Marcus smiled. You've changed. How so? You're more at peace. When you first started your business, you had this intense energy, like you were trying to prove something every second. Now you're just living it. He was right. I don't need to prove anything anymore. I've built something I'm proud of. I took a risk and it paid off. I learned that success isn't about other people's definitions. It's about your own. Last week, we had our first official company retreat. 10 people now, team members from different cities. We rented an Airbnb in the mountains, spent 3 days doing strategy planning and team building. On the last night, we sat around a fire and I asked everyone to share their why. Why they joined Momentum Operations, what success meant to them. My junior consultant, Sarah, said she joined because she was tired of big consulting firms where she was just a number. My data analyst, James, said he joined because he wanted to build something from the ground up. My virtual assistant, Lynn, said she joined because I actually treated her like a professional, not a task manager. Marcus said he joined because he needed to remember who he was outside of corporate performance. And when it was my turn, I said, I started this company because I wanted to prove I could, but I keep building it because it matters. Because we're not just optimizing workflows, we're giving people their time back. We're reducing burnout. We're making work more human. Everyone nodded. Then Sarah said, Can I share something? Of course. I almost didn't take this job, because when I looked you up, I couldn't find much online. No big LinkedIn presence. No corporate background showcased everywhere. And I thought, is this even a real company? What changed your mind? I asked. Your interview process. You asked me what success looked like for me. Not what I could do for your company. Not how I plan to contribute. You asked about my goals, my values, my version of fulfillment. And I realized this is a company that actually cares about people. I felt my throat tighten. That's always been the goal, I said. Build something that treats people like humans, not resources. It's late April now, almost May. I'm sitting in my office, my real office, with a door and a window and a desk I didn't buy from IKEA. And I'm reflecting on the last year. A year ago, I was sitting in a corporate conference room, watching someone take credit for my work. 6 months ago, I was building my business in secret, too afraid of judgment to share my success. 4 months ago, I was standing in my parents' living room being called a failure by my brother. And now I'm the CEO of a growing consulting firm. Now I have a team of 10 people who trust me. Now I have clients across multiple industries. Now my brother works for me and it's actually working. Now Claire is about to poach my systems and build her own operations team, and I'm genuinely excited for her. Now my parents understand what I do. Now I don't need validation from anyone but myself. My phone buzzes. Text from Marcus. Just closed the biggest deal yet, $120,000 contract, 6-month engagement. They want to start ASAP. Amazing, I text back. Let's talk details in our one-to-one tomorrow. Also, another text comes through. Claire and I set a wedding date, August 15th.
and we want to talk to you about something. What? In person. Come over for dinner tonight? Sure. What time? 7. And Emma? Yeah? Thank you for everything. I smile at my phone. Claire and Marcus's apartment is beautiful. They just moved in last month. Modern kitchen, lots of natural light, and yes, there's Marcus's bookshelf in the living room, the one he'd built in high school. Hey, Claire greets me at the door. Come in. We eat dinner. Claire made pasta. Marcus made salad. Somehow it's a perfectly balanced meal. And we chat about work, about wedding planning, about life. Then, over dessert, Claire says, "So, we have a proposition." Okay, I say cautiously. "We want you to be in our wedding party," Marcus starts. Obviously, I'd be honored, but let me finish, he interrupts gently. "We want you to officiate." I pause. "You want me to officiate your wedding?" "You're the reason we're together," Claire says. "I'm really not. Emma, if you hadn't built Momentum Operations, I never would have found you as a consultant. If I hadn't hired you, I never would have discovered the connection to Marcus. If you hadn't created that environment where I felt comfortable being honest, I might have just gone along with his narrative about you. And if you hadn't called me out that New Year's Eve," Marcus adds, "I might never have confronted my own bullshit. I might have lost Claire. I definitely would have kept being a condescending ass to you." "You're the thread that connects our story," Claire says. "So yes, we want you to officiate." I feel tears welling up. I don't know what to say. "Say yes," Marcus says. "Please?" "Yes, of course yes." We hug, all three of us clustered around their dining table. "Also," Claire says, pulling back slightly, "I have something else to tell you." "What?" "I'm leaving Vertex Systems." My heart sinks. "You got recruited away?" "No, I'm starting my own consulting firm." My heart lifts again. "What?" "You inspired me. Watching you build momentum, watching you create something that actually values people. I want to do the same thing. But in customer success specifically." "That's amazing." "And I want to partner with you, not compete, partner. Our services are complementary. You do operations, I do customer success. We could refer clients to each other, maybe even collaborate on projects." I look at Marcus. "Did you know about this?" "I encouraged it," he says proudly. "She's been talking about it for months." I shake my head, smiling. "This is incredible." August 15th arrives faster than I expected. I'm standing at the altar, the gazebo in the garden venue Marcus and Claire chose, wearing a simple navy dress and holding index cards with my officiant notes. In front of me, two people I love are about to commit to each other. Behind them, a crowd of family and friends, including my parents, who are crying already, and the ceremony hasn't even started. Including Claire's parents, who gave me the biggest hug at the rehearsal dinner and told me how much Claire's business has grown in the last few months. Including my team from Momentum, because Marcus and Claire insisted on inviting them. The music starts. Claire walks down the aisle. She's stunning. Marcus sees her and starts crying immediately. It's adorable. She reaches the gazebo, takes his hands. I begin. We're gathered here today to celebrate Claire and Marcus, two people who found each other in the most unexpected way. I tell their story, how they met at an industry event, how they bonded over ambitious career goals, and a shared love of terrible action movies. How their relationship was built on respect, partnership, and growth. And yes, I tell the story of New Year's Eve. Marcus and Claire's relationship was tested last New Year's, I say. In a moment of honesty and discomfort, they had to confront some hard truths about themselves and each other. Marcus had to acknowledge his own insecurities and biases. Claire had to decide whether honesty was more important than keeping the peace. I look at both of them. They chose truth. They chose growth. They chose each other, flaws and all. That's what marriage is, choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I go through the traditional vows, the exchange of rings, and then I say, "Marcus and Claire, by the power vested in me by the state of California, and this incredibly expensive online ordination certificate. I now pronounce you married. You may kiss." They do. Everyone cheers. The reception is perfect. Good food, great music, lots of dancing. I give a speech during dinner. Keep it short, heartfelt, funny. When Marcus asked me to officiate his wedding, my first thought was, is this payback for that time I accidentally broke his Nintendo in 1998? But my second thought was, this is the greatest honor I've ever received. People laugh. Marcus and I haven't always had the easiest relationship. We're siblings. We've fought, we've competed, we've misunderstood each other. But this past year has taught me that family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, even after you mess up. It's about growth, forgiveness, and choosing love over ego. I look at Marcus and Claire. You two embody that. Thank you for letting me be part of your story. More applause. I sit down. Later, on the dance floor, Marcus pulls me aside. "Thank you," he says, "for everything, for the job, for the wedding, for not giving up on me when I was being an idiot. You're my brother. I couldn't give up on you if I tried." "I'm really proud of you, Em. I don't say that enough." "You say it all the time now." "Because I mean it." We hug, a real hug. Then he gets pulled away by Claire for their first dance, and I'm left standing at the edge of the dance floor, watching. My mom appears next to me. "You did good, honey." "At the ceremony?" "At everything." Later that night, after the wedding ends, I drive home alone. My apartment, which is just an apartment now, not an office, is quiet. I make tea, sit on my couch, look out the window at the city lights, and I think about how much has changed in 8 months. 8 months ago, I was the family failure, the sister who quit her job and was finding herself. Now, I'm the CEO of a successful company, the sister who helped her brother find himself, the person who made peace with not needing external validation. My phone buzzes, text from Sarah, my junior consultant. "Hey, boss, just wanted to say, watching you officiate today was really inspiring. You've built something special, not just the company, but the relationships, the community. Thank you for creating a space where people can grow." I smile at my phone, type back, "Thank you for being part of it." Another text, this one from Claire. A photo from the wedding. Marcus and me, mid-hug during the reception. Caption, family. I save it to my favorites. Here's the thing about success. It's not a moment. It's not a destination. It's not about proving people wrong or winning some imaginary competition. Success is building a life that aligns with your values. It's taking risks that scare you. It's choosing growth over comfort. It's forgiving the people who underestimate you, including yourself. That New Year's Eve, when Marcus called me a failure, I thought the story was about me proving him wrong. But that wasn't the story at all. The story was about both of us learning what success actually means. For me, it meant building momentum operations, creating meaningful work, helping clients, growing a team. For Marcus, it meant confronting his insecurities, leaving a job he hated, finding his way back to the things that fulfilled him. For both of us, it meant choosing authenticity over performance. And yeah, there's a sweet irony in Claire's revelation. In that moment when she said, "Actually, she's my boss." That felt good, not gonna lie. But the real victory wasn't the surprise on Marcus's face. It was the conversation that followed, the apology, the growth, the rebuilding of our relationship. It was Marcus joining my company, Claire starting her own, my parents finally understanding. It was all of us choosing to be honest about who we really are. It's New Year's Eve again. We're back at my parents' house. Same setting, different energy. Marcus and Claire are there, obviously, now married, still working on building their life together. My team is invited. This time. Sarah's here, James, Lynn, others. My company has grown to 15 people. We're profitable, sustainable, making a real impact. Claire's company is thriving. We've partnered on 3 major projects, referred dozens of clients to each other. Marcus is happy, like genuinely happy. He still does business development for me, but he also has his woodworking. He built 3 pieces of furniture last month and sold them on Etsy for more than I would have guessed. "You're an artist," I told him last week. "I'm a hobbyist," he corrected. "No, you're an artist who also does sales. There's a difference." He smiled. "Thanks, boss." Now, as midnight approaches, we're all gathered in the living room again. Same countdown, same champagne, different story. 10, 9, my mom grabs my hand. 8, 7, Marcus puts his arm around me. 6, 5, Claire raises her glass. 4, 3, my whole team joins in. 2, 1, Happy New Year! And as everyone hugs and celebrates and makes their resolutions, I think, this is success. Not the business metrics or the revenue or the team size. This, right here, being surrounded by people who see me, really see me, building something that matters, living authentically, that's the real victory. Later that night, as I'm leaving my parents' house, Marcus walks me to my car. "Hey," he says, "I never asked you something." "What?" "What was the hardest part of building your company?" I think about it, believing I deserved it. Not the success, I knew I was capable, but believing I deserved to build something on my own terms, without permission or validation from anyone else. And now? Now I know. I don't need permission to be successful. I don't need validation to know my worth. I just need to keep showing up and doing the work. Marcus nods. "I'm learning that too." "I know. I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of you too, Em." We hug. "See you Monday?" he asks. "See you Monday." I drive home, windows down, music playing. And I think about that moment at last year's New Year's Eve, standing in my parents' living room, being called a failure. If you'd told me then that 1 year later I'd have a thriving business, a reconciled relationship with my brother, and a genuine sense of peace about my life, I might not have believed you. But here I am, living proof that success isn't about other people's definitions. It's about yours. And mine looks pretty damn good.